Alright, I'm cool. Currently playing Genshin. Cool. I'm pretty good. Luna. Thank you. Pokemon's cool. Hello, Angel. Hello, hello. Hi, Emily. Hi, Belle. Hi, Lola. Avocado. Dexter. What sleep app do you use? I don't know. I just looked up sleep thingy. Whatever. Hmm. I was wondering if you'd be interested in a Braille card. I'm fluent in it. I would like to send you a card using Braille. I mean, yeah. I think I'm. You just mean like it's it's just a card written in Braille, right? Or I don't know. I don't know how you say that. Written in Braille? I don't know. I don't know. Do you know any sign language? No, I don't, Belle. Sorry. I don't know any language really. I mean, English, but I mean, I don't know any other language. My memory is so bad. Yeah, I've seen the MCC game lineup. I think it'll be interesting. I think that um I don't know. I don't know how it'll affect me individually because Santa Time, I'm pretty sure like 5 times in a row my team has gotten first, and that's a lot of coins, and that's a big contributor to like my overall score as well. So the fact that Santa Time is out is probably bad for my individual score, and then Rocket Spleef is a game that I usually fare really well in, and I've gotten recently. I've been getting pretty good. So I was thinking I could get first or top 5 this time. So, but then it's not in. So that'll probably hurt my individual. Um, what else isn't in? Sky Battle. I mean, I last time I played, I got 40th in Sky Battle, but I generally get like either low or really high. So I have a feeling I probably would have done pretty decent, I guess. Um, and then Build Mart has to be played. They didn't let it be skipped. And then the meltdown looked cool, but it's not in this one. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I actually think the games will be good for our team. There's not the only really like scary game is like survival games. Like I feel like none of the other games will be scary. Like I feel like if we were gonna go into, I feel like in my mind, Sands of Time, Sky Battle, and Sands of Time, Sky Battle, Rocket Spleef, and what's the one, Meltdown. All of those I would have thought our team. I'd be scared going into like, oh shit, like our team might like fucking get 0 points or something. Like we could just fuck up and get no points, or we could just get wrecked and get no points. Now, do I think it would happen? Probably not. But for our team, I feel like for me, like my individual score, it probably was a nerf. But I feel like for our team, it was probably a buff. Technically, just because I feel like there's less of a chance that we get to Dodgeball probably, but there's more of a chance that we're competing for dodgeball, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Right now I'm reading the podcast chat, but I'll switch over to the Dreamers live chat whenever people join. um, I'm pretty good. Thank you. Hmm. Are you interested in learning any new languages? I mean, I'm always interested. Problem is, my memory sucks, and I'm a bit of an idiot. So I won't. But what language would you actually like to learn? I mean, I'd like to learn every language, but it's not going to happen. I would be shocked if I learn another language in my lifetime, as much as I would love to. Actually, I take that back. I won't be shocked if I learn another language in my lifetime, but only because I think that technology will advance to a point where it'll be way, 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 way easier. So I probably will learn another language in my lifetime, but only because technology will do it and not my laziness and memory. My schedule is pretty bad right now. How will technology help you with learning a language? I don't know. I just feel like it will. I feel like it will. I just think the thing is like technology is like fucked. Like it's so People don't realize like how quickly everything is moving. Like technology is moving so quickly, and no one even like thinks about it. I know no one even realizes like how fast it's moving. Like from when I was born, like from the year I was born to now, like the internet essentially like wasn't a thing. The internet wasn't a thing like when I was born essentially. Like it was basically not a thing. Um the internet wasn't a thing. Cell phones like essentially were just in like the very early stage. There was not no touchscreen phones. There was no phones that had cameras. There was no, like et cetera, et cetera. And now we're at the point where like literally so many of the things that you used to carry around, like just think about it. Before I was born, like I don't know, people needed like now there's so many things that are combined into one. Like your phone is like your camera. You can use it as a ruler, literally. Like there's like an app to there's like the measure app. You can use it to take notes as like a notepad. Use it as a calculator. You use it as whatever. It's not even old. Like probably most of you, probably a lot of you, like a lot of you were born before the first iPhone came out. Like probably, which is like essentially the first like touch screen, like actual fancy device. Like that was like the iPhone came out what 2005, 2006 or something. 2007? No. 2007. Oh, the first iPod probably came out earlier. The first iPod Touch probably came out earlier. But still, first iPod Touch was probably like 2004, 2005. But anyway, the point being, like it's ridiculous, like how much technology has advanced. Like, and then now obviously there's like we've gone from 1999 when I was born, late 1999, to now, like the internet didn't exist. Touchscreen phones didn't exist. Cell phones hardly even existed. Like essentially, you know, TVs, like the TV that computers essentially weren't. They were a thing, but they were massive, and they were still being improved and were shit essentially. It's not that we're old, guys. It's not that I'm old, guys. It's that technology moves so quickly. And now we have a full screen, touch. Cars are driving themselves. Fucking everything. I mean, just imagine in 20 years. I mean, it's only been 20 years. It's been 22 years since then, since I was born, and there's so much like just like, and it's not even that. It's like what's became normal is like insane. Like it's not even like you think about, oh, well, there's these, it's like it's not only that these things are there, it's like it's normal. Like it's normal for you to, talk to somebody like everybody pretty much has like a touch screen phone that has everything, that has a camera and has everything on it. It's becoming normal to have, in your car to have some form of, you know, crazy shit, crazy technology. It's normal to walk into a house and see, even if you see like a nice TV, but like a flat screen or something. Then you have to be like a massive TV or something. But like the TVs were massive even 20 years ago. Like they were thick. They were thicko mode TVs, and now they have TVs that are millimeters and whatever. Anyway, how did I start this rant? Oh, because someone said, "How are you gonna learn a language?" Because I was like, I guess I'll take it back. Probably in my lifetime I would, and it'll be technology. I imagine that there will be tech in my lifetime that assists you greatly with like learning a language or whatever. People say we already have Duolingo though. No, I'm talking about like something where like you just like fucking put a chip in your brain or something and like it downloads a language, or like maybe not quite that in my lifetime, probably not, but I just mean like something like that. Something, I think something like that. People are saying, "Sir, what? Help." It's gonna happen. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. That's not, it's not even an if, it's a when. It is a when is it gonna happen, not an if it's gonna happen. It will happen. It just depends on when. But then I don't think that'll happen in my lifetime. But I do think that there will be things that help you. Like I can imagine that something that you do put, you know, something like something you attach to your brain, or something that you do with your brain, or something we learn because we understand how the brain works more, that like you have a program where like, let's say you get told a word in the language and then boom, you're zapped or something, and it just guarantees your mind remembers it somehow. I think something like that will happen in my lifetime. Like 99.999% or something. Like memory tricks that are like adaptive. It's not just like, oh, you're learning it. I don't know. I think that'll be the tech. Look, that's my hot take. I genuinely think that we 100% will. I don't know about in my lifetime, but we'll probably start in my lifetime. But I think we'll control the weather. I think we will control the weather in like, I don't know how long, but we will control the weather at some point in the future. Like we'll be able to like make it. They already can. You know, people say you're high. No, I'm not. I'm telling you. You don't know how much technology advances. Like we already kind of can. Like there was some I think when the Olympics was in Japan, they did something about, they made it rain because they wanted it to rain. They didn't want it to rain during the Olympics, so they made it rain before the Olympics by like making the clouds heavier or something. I don't know. I don't remember exactly how they did it, but they did it. I remember reading about it. But anyway, we 100%, we will be able to control like when it rains. We'll be able to like know. I think we'll be able to like cancel out I think essentially like we'll be able to like get rid of like hurricanes, probably, because hurricanes are very, very like detectable. I think probably not tornadoes because they can just come out of nowhere, but maybe I think we'll be able to eventually, probably not in my lifetime, but eventually. People say you're high. I'm not like it's just, I'm sure people who said stuff about like phones will be in your pocket and stuff, like even like 25-30 years ago were probably called like crazy. And then, oh well, guess what, only like fucking 10 years later and it's true. Like technology moves so fast, you have no idea what it's going to be like. I mean, I guarantee you, like, I mean, it'll be within my lifetime, it'll be normal that all cars will drive themselves. That's not even a hot take. That's not even a hot take. That is going to be, it is going to be legally required by law at some point in the future that every car that is like every new car has full like self-driving on it. It's going to be 100%. That's not even a hot take. That'll be in the next like 20, 25 years, 30 years, maximum 30 years. It'll be the norm that you get in your car, you type in an address and it takes you there. That'll be the norm in the next, in my lifetime, but 100%, but probably in the next like fucking 20 years, 25 years, max. That's with like cars. What else is there? Yeah, but I think that with weather, we'll be able to control it. I don't know when. That'll be way more down the line. I think that'll be further down the line. Human control weather is just against nature. Well, we've done it. We've already done it before. Like I said, we already know how to like make it rain. You can already control rain. Yeah, like we already can. I feel like we already can control rain, technically. It's just like obviously it's you know, maybe we don't because of whatever. But I feel like you can. Someone said, wait, what? How? There was something that happened. You can Google it. It was I'm pretty sure, I don't remember if it was the Japanese Olympics, but there was an Olympics that was in, I think it was Japan, where it was gonna rain during the Olympics. And so the Beijing Olympics. Okay. Yeah, maybe it wasn't Japan. Maybe it was China. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. There was an Olympics and it was going to rain. And so they essentially like flooded the clouds, I think. they, like, flooded the clouds, in order to make the clouds, like, not able to hold the rain, and then they made it rain. It, like, made it rain before the Olympics instead of, like, during, I think. But anyway, but I think we'll be able to actually control, like, more than that. Um, what other tech shit will we be able to do? But yeah, I think, like, the brain is one of those things where soon, we'll be able to do a lot more shit with the brain. We'll know more about it. Like, right now we know so little. We know so little about, like, the brain and how it actually, like, works and shit. But we're learning. We're learning more. We're learning more every day. Do you think teleportation will exist? No. I mean, I guess I have no idea. I mean, I think, maybe in ages and like, but as far as I know, it's not, like, possible. But it could be. Cloning already exists and has already been done and has been done effectively, and, what do you mean cloning has been done? Cloning's been done. They've cloned they've cloned sheep. They've cloned a bunch of things. It's not even like whatever. They've cloned a bunch of animals. I'm pretty sure it's just, like, essentially making a baby with just the one DNA, so it's a clone. Because, like, usually you use two people's DNAs and combine them, so it's, like, different, obviously, because you get some things from each. But, like, I don't know. Yeah, he said, who are they? I don't know. Just scientists and shit. Yeah, that's old news. Cloning is old news. Cloning's been a thing. It's only been, like, more and more advanced, but what do you think of time travel? I think it's dumb. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it ever will be. But I think I saw somebody make a good point though, that, like, if time travel did exist, then you wouldn't be able to go back. Like, let's say that someone invented, like, a time machine. Like, I believe that at that point you wouldn't be able to go back to before the time machine was invented. Like, essentially. I think if time travel is possible somehow, then, like, it would have to be kind of like snapshotting time somehow, and then, like, viewing that snapshot. It's kind of like having, like, a backup of, like, it's like you having, like, an iCloud backup of your phone or whatever, and being able to go back to the iCloud backup. It's kind of like time traveling on your phone. But, like, if you didn't have an iCloud backup in the first place, you could never go back. And once you made one, it doesn't mean that you can go back to before you made it. So it's kind of like there's always going to be, I don't know. If time travel does exist, then I think that that's how it would work. It'd be like we create a machine that somehow, like, fucking snapshots the world as it is, and then you'd be able to somehow go there. But yeah, I don't think that it ever will exist, and definitely not when I'm alive. So why even think about it? Um, yeah. But yeah, no, I think technology is crazy, and I think no one realizes like how fast that shit is advancing. I remember I had a conversation ages ago, I think in a podcast here, about like AI and how there's like the like self the like the AI destroys the world theory, where it's like essentially like machine learning. Okay. I find all this stuff so interesting. But I think machine learning, like uh in AI, taking in information, and then in order to make like an AI truly like ultra intelligent, like a robot or whatever, it needs to learn on its own. And essentially the better it gets at learning on its own, the faster it improves. So it's kind of like it gets faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. And so like the theory that most scientists have or whatever about AI is that like as soon as it reaches the point, like the amount of time it'll take us to reach the point where like AI is more intelligent than humans or whatever, um, is gonna take forever. Or you're gonna take, not forever, but it's gonna take a long time, and it has been taking a long time. But as soon as it becomes smarter than a human, the time it'll take for it to get from smarter to a human to so smart that we can't even like comprehend it will be so quick, like maybe even seconds or hours or days, versus instead of, because it's essentially it's just like exponential. It just gets like faster and faster and faster and faster. Um, so, but yeah, but what I was gonna say is I think that's kind of the technology is kind of in that same boat where things are just like getting better so quickly that we don't even realize, like we just don't even realize it's happening. Like it's just crazy. It is insane. Like if you just think about like even you, I don't know, think about like, yeah, I don't know. Like I guess 10 years ago. Just 10 years ago, think about what TV you had, what phone you had, if you had a phone. Of course, I don't know. I guess I'm thinking. I didn't even. I guess I was too young even for Malaysia. Whatever. I guess I'm thinking like just think 10 years ago. Let's say you're okay. If you're older than, if you're 18 or above, just think about what phone you had 10 years ago, what TV, or like what phone like your mom had or your dad had 10 years ago. Think about what TV you had, if any, um, 10 years ago. Think about what car and what your car did, if you had a car or if your family had a car 10 years ago, and what it was like, what it did, how it compares to cars nowadays. Um, if you think about like what's something else? Just think of those three things. Like I can say like I remember 10 years ago, my dad had a BlackBerry. It was a BlackBerry with the little slide out thing. It had like the little slide out, like you had the keyboard on it or whatever, slide it out. That was the phone my dad had. I didn't have a phone 10 years ago, but that was the phone my dad had. Um, my dad's car was like a shitty, I don't even know. It wasn't even automatic. It was like it was a stick, and it was like so it was it was so shit. There was, I mean, there was no technology. Obviously like there was no screens, there was no anything, there was no whatever, there was no like safety features, no anything. It was just, you drive it, whatever. Um, that's that's it. Obviously, TV. I literally remember this giant ass box. Like it would probably weighed 1,000 pounds or something ludicrous, and it was like a giant. It was like smaller than my monitor. I mean, maybe it was slightly bigger than my monitor technically, but it was so much bigger, like thicker and heavier and whatever. It was a ridiculous amount. It was probably extremely heavy and massive, but like, and then now, like compared to what I have now, it's like, like the iPhone with everything on it and touchscreen and cameras, and it uses my face to unlock, and it it's basically a full screen, and it refreshes, and then like TVs like flat screen whatever, and your car, you can have, you know does everything. I don't know. It's just like that's 10 years. That's 10 years. Imagine 20 years from now. And it's just gotten faster and faster and faster. It'll be insane. Technology's crazy. Someone said it. I think this is sarcastic, so I'm gonna read it out and I'm gonna talk about it. Said he's so right for that. Controlling the weather makes much more sense than time traveling. He's so smart and wise. All right, okay. Look, it does. Because one, we've already controlled parts of the weather, as I've explained. We've already controlled when it rains before. We've done that. We've never done anything remotely related to time travel. So obviously, it makes more sense to control the weather than time travel. And the difference is we understand weather way more than we understand time. Like time travel as a concept is like essentially, to our knowledge now, impossible. Like it is just we've never done anything even remotely similar to it whatsoever. So like as far as we know, it's impossible. But as far as like weather control goes, we've done things related to it, and it makes sense. Like if we understand, if we can predict a hurricane forming, right now it's this storm, but it's going to become a hurricane, and here's when it's going to become a hurricane. Here's the exact path that the hurricane's going to take. Here's how strong the winds are, and how strong the winds are going to get, and then it's going to take this path, and it's going to end here, and whatever. Obviously, if we can do all of that, then we understand it so much that eventually all it takes is us knowing how to stop it in step one. Step one, whenever it's just becoming a storm, if we can stop that, then boom, it never becomes a storm. Therefore, it never becomes, a tropical storm. Then it never becomes a hurricane. Then it never becomes a Category 5 or whatever. And so we kind of kill it when it's a baby, and then it never becomes a hurricane. And then boom, hurricanes are just no more, and hurricanes don't exist. I think that'll happen. I think that there will be a day where hurricanes don't exist anymore because we found out where we were able to get good enough to the point where we can stop it in its infancy. And I think that's not even far-fetched. I think that'll happen in my lifetime. Well, I don't think we'll have that technology in my lifetime. I think that there will be strides towards that in my lifetime. And I think it could happen in my lifetime. But I think there'll be strides towards it for sure. And like what other weather is there? I mean, obviously like rain we've already controlled, so I feel like we can do more now. Will we? I don't know. Rain, I feel like with like hurricanes are deadly and they destroy shit and whatever, so we probably just wouldn't want them. But like rain, it's a lot less. Like rain can be good in a lot of cases, so we might not touch rain, but I think that we will touch like disasters, and like earthquakes would be harder because that is on like a much larger scale. But I still feel like there's not necessarily a reason why we wouldn't be able to eventually potentially prevent earthquakes from happening. We know why they happen. I think it would just take us coming up with the concept of how to do it and then executing it. So no, earthquakes are too big, man. Tectonic plates are too big. But I mean, I don't necessarily agree. I mean, I think that I think it's like far from now, but like we can do massive things. Like we can do tons of things. And people talk about, can we stop the science talk? No, I love science. Science is fun to talk about. It's my podcast. I will talk about what I want. Like I feel like, let's stop the tectonic plate thing. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, and you're saying this now, but I guess you'll be dead. But I was gonna say, who'll be laughing in thousands of years or whatever when we can? I mean, maybe not even thousands. Like it could be sooner than that. Like it just seems like, oh yeah, it's so ridiculous. We've built massive things. We've dug massive holes. We've We've sent spaceships into, we have nukes that can like destroy entire cities. Like how are you saying, oh, tectonic plates are just too big? Like, no. We have the technology right now where if we wanted to press a button and end the entire world, we could just do it. Everything on Earth could just be dead. When I say we, I'm just saying we as a collective humanity, like humanity. So I don't think it's that ridiculous to be like, we could potentially prevent earthquakes in the future. I think that eventually we will be able to. We'll be able to. I think that one's much harder than like hurricanes, but I do think that would be something that, if we have the need to, that we'll do it. Maybe we won't have the need, but I think we will. In our lifetime, no. Definitely not in our lifetime. For that one. But maybe in your great grandkids' lifetime or something. Except for the fact that I think that potentially, I think it'll be just outside of our lifetime for this, but maybe not. That essentially you'll be able to just like, because this one's so, again, this seems so obvious. You're going to be like, oh my God, like, no, that's ridiculous. But I feel like, I'm going to lock it because whatever. Like, this is going to sound ridiculous, but people are going to potentially disagree with, oh, did I just do it to the wrong thing? Oops, I did it to the wrong thing. Wait, did I? No, we're good. I think that we'll be able to live way longer than like our lifespan. I think like probably maybe within my lifetime, but maybe not, and maybe slightly longer. We'll be able to our lifespans will be like increased by like fucking 10 times or something. And like, this is why, because the majority of deaths are not, there are a lot of deaths are related to like, obviously like brain deterioration. Like if you're just talking like, Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or shit related to the brain, but a lot of our deaths aren't. It's like a stroke or which technically isn't caused by like the brain, or like a heart attack or something. And I feel like every like organ in our body technically, this is gonna sound dumb, is useless except for our brain. Like technically we'd be able to have a machine. Guys, listen, you could technically have a machine. You just put your brain in, your head in, you chop off your neck and above, and as long as like blood is circulating through your brain, you're fine. You are fine. Like you are living and your brain will be fine. If we have that technology eventually. But again, you need to be able to, obviously all your body does shit to your blood and shit. We need to be able to like recreate all of that. But like once we recreate all of that, we're already growing shit in like labs. Like we're already growing organs and shit. Like we're experimenting with growing organs and fake organs and shit. Like I think that there is no reason that in the future, and I think it's the near future, and by near I mean like within a couple generations at least. And I feel like potentially at the end of my lifespan, this technology might be around. People say like, how are we going to eat? Well, I'm saying like, yeah, but I'm saying eventually we'll get to the point where we will be like cyborg people, where like half of us is kind of tech and half of us isn't, where like we have a lot of, tech for shit. And then, some shit is not. And it's like, people are like, oh, why would you want that? It's like, well, why would you not? Like if right now you could snap your fingers and you'd know that your lifespan is increased by 3 times, and you can still function exactly as you are, except for your arms and your legs are robotic. And that's it, essentially. I think most people, if that was the exact case, like only because it seems weird, people are being like, oh, it's weird, wouldn't do it. But it's like, I would. Like, how is that? People are like, I wouldn't. Then you're an idiot. You'll die early. Fine. Less idiots for the gene pool. That's fine. You're scared of technology? Get the hell out. Technology controls the world. Technology is the future. You're scared of it? Fine. Increase the IQ of the overall population. Die early. I don't care. The people that are like at that point when it becomes a decision where it's like, yeah, it'll increase your lifespan by 3 times, but you'll be like, you'll be exactly the same from your brain, and like you'll have all the same thoughts. You'll be able to do everything that you want to do in life, like the exact same. Everything will be the exact same, except for some of your body will be like metal. That's your option. Do you want to do it or not? And then people are like, I don't want to do it. It's just weird. Like, it's just weird. Like, I just want to be human. Like, I don't want to be whatever. It's the same people that were like, before, like a phone in your pocket. Why do you need your phone everywhere? I want my phone on my wall in my house. That's all. That's the only time I need it. That's the only place that I need it. That's just weird. Carrying a phone everywhere. What? The government's listen to you. Like, those will be the same people. It'll be the same people. That's who it'll be. And it's fine. You lower your IQ. I'm fine with that. It's natural selection. Those people will die. The people that are smart and make the decision, fuck it. I don't, what is being human? That's just like a made up concept. And they decide, fuck it. I'll have the robot arms and legs and live 3 times as long. Those people are the smart ones. They'll move on. The gene pool will benefit from it. Fine. Your like whole family gene line will die. And the world will be better off. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of my view. I think so. I think that will be something that will happen way sooner than people think. Because I think that we understand a lot. We understand a lot more about the body. Like the other than the brain. Other than the brain, we understand a lot more about the body than people think. Like we already right now do organ transplants. We already have fake parts to help people live through heart attacks and everything. We already have we already have blood transfusions and we already have prosthetic limbs and, like I feel like we already understand so much about, the body. And so I think it's not long until we're able to essentially, have just the only thing we really need is, our brain. And once we really only need our brain and we're able to essentially, if someone was to have their head chopped off and put on a machine, they'd be able to live fine. Once we have that, then essentially, they said, and our heart. Why? The heart just pumps blood. Why do you need your heart? Can't you just have a machine that pumps? People are on bypass that literally pumps their blood for them or runs their blood through their body. Like you can live without your heart. You can live without your heart beating. It's already done. There are people that live without their heart beating. What about our kidneys? That's true, but a lot of your kidneys are needed for like energy and shit and things that why can't we potentially why can't we have that energy made in a different way? We don't know how to do it now. I'm saying why can't we? Right now we just obviously we eat. But what if we didn't need to eat? People said you've lost it. I haven't lost it. What if we didn't need to eat? We've already made energy in the same way. Like electricity, obviously, like is running through our body. That is a fact, obviously. Electricity does run through your body and in your brain. And a lot of the energy that we need is for most of the energy we spend is for like moving our muscles and keeping all our body parts like intact and shit. What if we didn't need that? What if we literally didn't have any of those body parts? What if we literally just had our brain and that's it? Do you know the amount of calories we would need as compared to everything else? It's like we would need way less, obviously, way less energy. And one day it'll happen. And I think that like obviously for like the near future and for forever, I think we'll need or not for forever, but for like the longest time, we will need our organs and stuff because they do a lot of things that we don't quite understand yet. And they do a lot of things, they keep our blood healthy and they keep us alive. But there's no reason that we won't be able to just, replace our organs essentially. Um, But yeah, said, bro, reproduction. Why do we need? Why is that something we need to do? Like physically with each other. We already literally can have people fucking get sperm and put it into eggs in a lab and have it make a baby. Like and put it in the eggs and inside of like a girl. Like you don't technically need to have sex to have a baby. Even right now. Like I think technically right now, if like every man on earth was just snapped dead, there's probably enough like sperm banks and shit that the women would live on and rule the world. I think it's true. Technically, all these are all things that we've already figured out. Like the only piece we haven't figured out is like how do we how can we haven't like we haven't like recreated a lot of shit yet. We haven't like recreated an organ. We still have to use we still have to use organ transplants because we haven't made an organ or whatever. Um, but we understand like once we don't necessarily have to. It's more like we just need to understand exactly what the organ does, how it does it, and then we can do that outside in a machine, or we can recreate that ourselves in a different manner and have it do that, and then boom, we don't need the organ anymore. So yeah, basically we'll be robots essentially with brains, and we will live way longer. And then at that point, our biggest problems will be preventing brain deterioration. So we'll be fighting like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and other brain diseases. And once we, help with those, then people will live even longer. That world would be boring as fuck though. Why? How would it be any different than this world? It is this world. It's the world you're living in now. It's the reality. We want to fuck. Well, there'll be that. I'm sure that will be a that will be a consideration. The one that make overpopulation an even huger problem. I don't think so. I think that this is my view on the world. I think that technology will advance, and eventually, there will be food. We'll be able to just like make in a lab. We won't necessarily need. We'll be able to do it in like so much less space. With less like animal cruelty and whatever. We'll be able to make food in a lab. We'll be able to. We already do make food in a lab. Yeah, we already do. But I'm saying we'll be able to make food in labs like efficiently and effectively and have everyone agree and taste and not be afraid of it and whatever. Food made in a lab sounds disgusting. Well, congrats. Half the shit you ate was made in a lab. Half the shit you eat right now was made in a lab. Half the fucking fruit and shit that you have, guess what? It's not natural. It's been like farmed for like thousands and thousands of years to be exactly like hit your taste buds in the exact way it has. It was already made in a lab. It just wasn't completely made in a lab. But I believe that we'll be able to completely make them in a lab. And we already have made shit in a lab. And I think that food will be made in a lab. And I think that skyscrapers and shit will be everywhere. We'll have transport and shit will be way better. Water will be more. It'll be easier to transport shit. I don't know. I feel like that overpopulation won't get better, but the problem of overpopulation will get way better. Because why would it not? Technology is crazy and will just continue to get better and better and better. And people will also say like, well, what about like, water, running out of like water on Earth, or running out of like, natural resources or whatever. Well, guess what? Meteorites. Like, and it sounds crazy, but we will 100% at some point, unless we get wiped out before it happens, we will be able to have controlled explosions. This is something I thought of ages ago. We'll be able to have controlled explosions where we send like a missile or something into like a meteorite that's passing by Earth, that then hits the meteorite, explodes part of it off, and they have like so much water. They have water on them. They have ice on them, not water. They have so much ice, and other shit. And it will fall. We'll have it fall perfectly, crash into the Earth in like the ocean or something, in the middle of the ocean, and just like have that water and those resources, or just be able to go there and transport it back or something somehow. We will never run out of water. We'll never run out of water because we'll be able, eventually, if it ever becomes too much of a problem, we'll have shit that can get us water from other places, or just water recycling. Yeah, sure. Well, obviously we'll be more efficient with it and stuff as well. And we have so much water on Earth in terms of salt water and whatever. It is, obviously we'll be able to efficiently convert it as well. And then like on top of that, we'll never run out of like what we consider like finite resources as well. Like you say like, oh, there's only a limited number of like there's only a limited amount of gold on this planet. That's why gold is like used as a currency. Guess what? There's not a limited amount of gold in the galaxy. There's gold everywhere. Gold is probably fucking abundant. It is probably more, I think gold is more common, isn't it? That gold's more common than water by like a massive amount. Anyway. Change the subject. No. Anyway. Someone said, why did he resort to meteorites instead of finding another planet to inhabit? Because I think we will also be traveling, but I think that's the difference. I think we'll be, like, meteorites pass by us all the time, whereas planets are super far. It's like, even if we end up making a spacecraft somehow that travels like half the speed of light or something, it still would take, things are so far, like the universe is so big, just everything is so big that it would take a long time, even if we find even the nearest planet that's like inhabitable, that already has water and already has this and that, is so far that it's not necessarily worth it. Like eventually we will, and we'll spread across. We will spread across the galaxy and the universe. We will spread across to other planets and so on and so forth. We will, but we'll go by I think we'll start with like meteorites because meteorites pass by us. So it's like they pass by us, and if we're able to have technology that kind of like grabs parts of them or something somehow and brings them to our planet to use, then we'll be able to do that in the future. Do you think meteorites will kill us before we run out of oxygen, which is more likely? Well, I don't think either is likely. But I don't know, I think like, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like ridiculously unlikely that like a meteorite or an asteroid just fucking hits us and we're gone, but but I feel like eventually we'll end up being able to like stop shit like that from happening. So it just all we have to do is get to that point before it happens, and then we're good. That's what the dinosaurs thought. Look what they are now. I'm sure that's exactly what they thought. What about climate change, etc.? We'll fix it. This is another hot take. I think that we should do everything we possibly can to prevent climate change. I think that that's not the hot take. Wait for the hot take part. This is that's the easy take. I think we should do everything we can to prevent climate change. I think that obviously that preventing climate change is important, and I think everyone should do everything they possibly can to do not take anything I'm about to say as a therefore you should just fuck climate change. Like you should not care about it now. No, I think that you should care about climate change, and you should do everything in your own power, and I do everything in my own power to contribute towards prolonging it and preventing it. But they said no. Someone said no one will care to fix it. It's too late. That's not true. As soon as it's like, I think that I think that we will, like I said, I said we'll be able to control like the weather. That's something that I said earlier in the podcast. I think that also that also contributes to, like our like Earth as well. Like why can we not, like, let's say climate change gets to the point, because it's not even like, it's also not, it doesn't, like, we can't reverse it. It's too late. It's more of like we can prolong it. We can prolong it essentially by and like kind of have reverse the effects somewhat. If we all were to work together, et cetera, et cetera. But imagine, climate change, all these things that all like because the biggest thing is like with temperature and like temperature change, et cetera. My take on like the weather is the same take on that. I think we will be able to, like, why would we not be able to, regulate the temperature better, like way down the line, even if it is down the line. Why would we not be able to uh help reverse, like, let's say, I mean, I don't, I'm not intelligent enough to, I don't know all the details of climate change and all of the stuff that all the negatives for it, but I think we will be able to in the future, even if it's in hundreds of years or whatever. And people say, oh, hundreds of years, that's not enough. I feel like as soon as shit becomes dire enough to where we'd have to, even if it, and obviously we do not need to, we do not want it to get to that point. But even if it does, even if it gets to the point where like literally like just like the world is fucking literally dying to a point where like everyone's like fucking dying because of it, so it'll be too late. No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. It won't. I believe, that's my belief. My belief is that it wouldn't be. My belief is that we, even though as a human race we are idiots and a lot of people are dumb and stupid and don't care and whatever, I think that we all have one thing in common, is that we don't want to fucking die. None of us want to fucking die. Okay, maybe some of us want to die. Most of us don't want to fucking die. Okay, there you go. I think that the majority of us don't want to die. And I think that's something that the majority of us have in common. And I think that obviously there's propaganda, and there's people that are idiots, and there's people that, and there's also people that disagree on, whether or not we would die, etc. But, as soon, even if it became like such a big issue that literally people are just dying, like 90% of the population is just like fucking dying or whatever, which obviously it'd be horrible. I believe that even at that point, we would still, the remaining 10% would it become the number one combined thing. Everyone would spend fucking 10 hours a day working on it, and we're smart enough and we have the resources and enough people that eventually they would fix it. And again, that does not mean at all but I also believe that, someone said there's no time, but I also believe that we would get there eventually without needing to have fucking everyone have the horrible effects of climate change. So, why not prevent it from us getting to that point in the first place at fucking all? And eventually we'll control that shit anyway. And so it's like, just prevent it as much as you can, and eventually we'll fix it. I have more faith in humanity than most people, though. So getting humans to cooperate is the hard part. You don't necessarily need cooperation for like advancements. And a lot of times you never do. It just takes time. It just takes time for people to like, get into shit. Like, I'm at, like, right now, this is the thing. Here's the thing. Here is totally, a thing. Here's an example, right? Like electric vehicles, electric cars. Right now, the majority of people think electric cars are weird and dumb and, whatever. That's like the majority. It's just the majority of people think that, if they hear, oh, you have an electric car, oh, that's like, it's dumb. It's weird. Because they know they're just expensive. No, that's true. Most people think, oh, I have to sit there and fucking charge my car for, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. Gas is, why would we do if we already have gas, et cetera. But, in 20 years or 30 years or however long, it will be every car. One 100% soon, 20, 30, 40, even if it's 50 years, it will be every single car. People say, no, we're too poor for it. The price will drop. When it becomes the norm, the price will drop. I believe 100% gas cars will be phased out because electric cars are better. They're just better in every way. Not ignoring the environmental aspect. They are just better. They are better. They are better in every way. And then eventually people say, oh, well, even with the charging, like right now, the biggest thing is the charging, like how long it takes to charge your car compared to like, whatever. They're better in terms of but eventually we'll get to the point where you can charge it faster. Batteries are getting bigger, charging is getting faster, etc. Eventually they'll charge faster than cars, a gas car, and they'll have the max capacity be way bigger. Like imagine there's not really, like, think about this. This is kind of crazy. The hard drives you have now, like you can have like an SSD or something that is so small that has many terabytes of storage on it, whereas even like a gigabyte of storage would have been the size of like your monitor right now 20 years ago. Or a terabyte of storage would have been the size of like your room, 20 years ago. And now they're so small. Batteries are kind of having the same thing. Like the amount of time that your phone right now lasts with the battery in it is so much longer and batteries get faster and better and faster to charge every single year that eventually, I mean, I don't know when, but eventually, you'll be able to, you'll be able to charge it extremely quickly, and you'll be able to have a max capacity where, you'll basically never need to charge. Like there will be batteries that have thousands of miles of capacity, and probably down the line, tens of thousands of miles. Anyway, it's like that. But the example the reason I'm giving that example is that it doesn't necessarily need to agree. Like humanity as a whole doesn't necessarily need to agree. It's kind of like, even if it's a small adaptation, eventually enough people will kind of slowly, trickle into it. And then as people are like born that don't have that, mindset of kind of like, oh, I'm used to this, therefore this is better. People are constantly being born, obviously, and are growing up with like the new technology, etc. That doesn't necessarily matter if everyone agrees. Eventually, everyone will agree. It just it'll become the norm, I'm sure there was a time whenever, I don't know. I'm sure there was a time when cars were first introduced that it was like a ridiculous thing. Like, oh, cars? I'm going to always use horses. Horses are better. And then eventually it's like, oh, guess what? Fucking nobody uses horses now. So, yeah, I think, I think we, I think that climate change, everyone should do everything they can to prevent it. I think it's a massive issue, and I think it's scary. And I think that even though it probably won't, it may, may not have deadly consequences on us right now. You have to think about it totally can with how fast it's going. And it also could have massive implications for your kids and grandkids and whatever. And you can't just be selfish for yourself. But I guess I have a hopeful outlook with humanity that I believe that we are technology at the rate technology is advancing. I believe that we'll be able to fix it and with technology. And that's my worldview. And I'm sure there's something, and like to talk about the car topic as well. I'm sure there's something that's way better than batteries that'll be, and I'm sure there's different types of batteries as well. Because I'm sure the batteries right now, a lot of them, you still need tons of resources and shit that's bad for the planet. Like I'm sure there will be tons of better ways in the future to that's even better than batteries, and there'll be better batteries and whatever. There'll be better energy sources, and solar will be insane in the future. We're only getting started with like solar, but Um, would you want to live on Mars or another planet if you had the opportunity? Sadly, I don't think in my lifetime that I will be able to. Or if I was, it would be like a bad experience because it wouldn't be like better. But I feel like, I mean, like Mars will never be habitable. I think that's a hot take. I think that it will, but I do think that by the time we get what we'll do is Mars will kind of be like a. I think we'll more use the moon as kind of like, hey, can we live on another planet with with fucking without needing the Earth or whatever, essentially. And I think that eventually, by the time we've kind of narrowed that down, we'll be like, why Mars? Like, why pick Mars? Mars is like close to Earth. Like, why don't we pick another planet that's farther? That way we don't, or in a different solar system or whatever. So I feel like Mars will be. I feel like we'll have the option to do it, and I feel like there will be some people that live on Mars, but I feel like we won't necessarily. I feel like I kind of agree that but I agree for a different reason probably than what you're saying. I think that we'll eventually be like, why Mars? Fuck it, let's go to a planet in a different solar system. We're gonna send, hundreds of people over to a different solar system to repopulate the fucking that planet or whatever. Why stop at Mars? Mars is like so close to us and it's kind of barren and whatever. So I think for a different reason that I do agree. I don't think Mars will probably ever be like a massive place that is like massively inhabited. Only because I think that it's just so close to Earth that it's not really worth spending so much time and resources like populating it when we might as well just do that in a different solar system. Do you think there's life somewhere else in space? Yes, and I think that I think people are dumb if they don't think that. From what we understand about the universe, at least, and how we were created. Obviously, everyone has different views on, how humans came to be and how life came to be. So, I'm an astrophysics graduate. Mars will never be habitable in the near future. It is unlivable. I mean, that's epic. I think that we can do anything. I think we can do anything. I think that like what makes Mars uninhabitable, all the problems that make Mars uninhabitable, I believe that we could solve. And I think that it doesn't mean that it will be anytime soon, and I don't think that it will be. I don't. I think that people. I think that in my lifetime there will be people like living on Mars. But it won't be like a number, like a million people. I think it'll be kind of like the space station, where there's people living there, but it's not, it's just like a handful of astronauts or whatever. People will just exploit immortality and try to make a profit, though no one will be able to afford it. I think that's true, but I think that everything eventually becomes like a commodity. So I think that that will be true at first, just like how the very first iPhone was fucking ridiculously expensive, and even now they're still expensive. But guess what? I pretty much everyone I know has an iPhone. Just how like right now again, electric cars are very very expensive, but that probably won't be the case in 20 years or whatever. They'll probably be fairly normal. It'll be more, it'll be a normal thing. So I agree that yes, at first, whenever like not even immortality, but whenever just expanding your life, extensively becomes like available, it'll be exploited for money. But then slowly, you know, it will become it'll become more of a normal thing. Like most of the shit right now that you guys look at and go, "Oh my god, this thing is like so new and so expensive and so cool," will be normal probably in 10 years, 15 years, maximum 20 years, like almost everything that you think of. Because like I was saying earlier, like right now, you think of the phone that you have, and think of the phone that your parents had 20 years ago, or think about even just like you know like as an I just use it as an example, but like having a I mean maybe I'm like slightly I am more privileged in this aspect. So I don't want people to take this and go, oh, it's just because you're privileged. But like having a flat screen TV, and by a flat screen I just mean a TV that is thin, a TV that is maybe an inch or two thick, and flat and fairly large. It doesn't have to be like massive. Basically, not a box TV. It's fairly common. It's fairly common now. Like it's not an uncommon thing. Doesn't mean everyone has one, but it's fairly common. But even when I was growing up, it was like you had a flat screen TV, you were rich essentially. But now it's a fairly common thing. Like you walk into pretty much any establishment, you walk into like a bar and there's TVs, there's flat screens everywhere. You walk into a lot of shops and shit, it's whatever. And essentially, you just call it a TV. Yeah, exactly. You just call a flat screen now a TV. It's just that's what a TV is now. A TV, it's flat. And if it's not flat, then it's a trash TV or whatever, essentially. Someone said 1-2 inches, that's massive. Yeah, I know. So like the point is, I think that a lot of what you're saying now, like where you'd go, oh, that's ridiculous. Like this thing is super expensive. You'll go, oh yeah, but it'll be the norm in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years maximum. It's like I'm trying to think what right now. It's like electric cars is a good example because they're super expensive right now, but they'll be I think they'll be the norm, and or they'll be very very normal at the very minimum in like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years maximum. What else? What else is kind of expensive right now? Expensive and like abnormal. Um, yeah, like stuff for like meat alternatives. That's true. Yeah, meat alternatives. That is very true. Right now, meat alternatives are more expensive. Um, and they're looked at as kind of like, oh, yeah, whatever. But I think that will be very much more normal and very normal in 10, 15, 20 years. And may even become the norm and down the line. Um, Houses rent. That's an interesting one. But I don't think that's not necessarily technology. I don't think that the same thing applies to houses and rent. Um, I think it does sort of, and that I think that there will be over time as it becomes more of a problem, there will be better like living situations, etc. But I think that houses and stuff will only become actually more rare and more of a less of a commodity, more like am I using the word commodity right? Um, uh, Commodity is like kind of normal, right? A common, yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just saying. I think houses will be like more and more rare. Like, oh, you own a house like that. Like, I think like potentially in like let's say like 500 years, like only like the richest of the rich. Maybe not 500 years. Like, I think in a long time, houses will be like, holy shit, you have a house. Like, you are a billionaire or something. Like, you are like whatever, because like I think land, like it'll be more and more like spread out. People are saying, huh, I don't mean like living, I mean like a house. Like I mean like a house with like a house with its own land and a garage and whatever. Like not like living where you have like you're living. I think that they'll be more like stacked on top of each other and shit. I think having a home is different than having a house. But yeah. Um when you say like price will drop and these things will become normal, are you assuming that like economic costs will just equally be heightened, so like lower costs will be able to afford it? I think realistically that'll happen, but I'm enjoying this discussion. I want to hear your thoughts. Um, well, no, I just think that I think that as generally with technology, at least, I think that technology, this is my understanding of it. I'm probably gonna be off on some things. So again, I'm not like, I don't specialize in this or anything, but I think that the main reason that technology, obviously people drive prices up and shit, but I think technology, the majority of time, it takes time like developing it. And then eventually once like it takes time, hiring all the people to research and to do all this shit and developing how it works. And then eventually like once you have it down, then you have it down. And then eventually over time, it just gets less and less and less and less and less and less and less expensive. Except for the better versions, and the better versions stay at the same price as the original, essentially, or even get more expensive. But kind of the technology that was initially introduced becomes, like better. So as an example, a touch screen, right? That's a good example of like a technology that was discovered. Obviously, discovering the touch screen took years and years and years and years, and probably millions of dollars, and probably more than that, paying people and engineers and researchers and testing and whatever to eventually get it to the point where we had a working touch screen, right? And it kind of evolved to that point. But then now touchscreens are so common that they're on everything. Touchscreens are everywhere on everything. They're in cars, they're on phones, they're on computers, they're on laptops, they're on tablets, they're in, they're like on vending machines, they're on, they're in grocery stores, they're everywhere. Touchscreens are everywhere. And so they're on toasters. Yeah, exactly. They're fucking everywhere. And so my thought is that generally applies to any technology. It doesn't necessarily mean like a product, but a technology. And so I think like once something is discovered, then eventually over time, the commonness drops and the price ends up becoming lower as the concept as a whole. Now there are nicer touchscreens. There are touchscreens that are on nicer things, but the concept of a touchscreen is probably so inexpensive now that it can essentially be on anything. Because essentially once you get that technology, the focus becomes making it better, making it smaller, making it with cheaper materials, making it for the masses to be produced, which guess what? It has to be cheap and easy to come by and made in factories with machines that, can't, that aren't complicated, and they don't want to have people put it together. So it has to be simple enough to have it, put together by a machine, which guess what? It can't be like insanely complex. It can't have, there's rules to it, etc. Anyway, so my point is that applies as well. That applies as well to, that applies as well to any technology. And I think that will apply to technology that expands your lifespan. So I think, yes, if it's ever discovered a technology that, let's say, just instantly doubles your lifespan, it'll be fucking expensive. It'll be ridiculously for the privileged at first, but then as it goes on, it'll be better. So what'll happen is they'll be like, okay, well now there's a new technology that triples your lifespan, and then guess what? The doubling your lifespan, that'll be introduced to the upper class now, and then there'll be a new technology eventually discovered that 5 times your lifespan, and then boom, the one that's double now, pretty much everyone will have that, and then there'll be a technology that 10 times your lifespan. And guess what? Yeah, only the billionaires and whatever will have that. But then 5 times your lifespan, that'll be pretty normal. Almost everyone will have that. Whatever. That's my view. I don't know if you share the same view, but that's my view. So I think that it won't be. I think it kind of makes sense with just the way technology is, but. Speaking of technology, thoughts on artificial intelligence gaining consciousness, like tripping human, like we literally have Face ID and the robots they're making nowadays is actually terrifying. I think eventually it'll happen. I think eventually it'll happen. But I don't think it'll be like anytime like soon. But it won't be like, because the thing is that opens like an interesting like psychology thing, I guess. Because technically, like, what is consciousness? Because technically, like, we're programmed to be how we are. That sounds dumb, but like, obviously we've evolved in a way where our brain works the way that it does. And it's kind of pre-programmed. And every human obviously works essentially the same way. Obviously, we all are very, very different, but we all kind of at the core work the same way. And I feel like robots would be the same. right? Like eventually it'll get to the point where I feel like we will have robots that kind of can, have emotions and shit, but they'll kind of be programmed to have that way, to be that way. And people would be like, "Oh, so it's not the same." But it's like, but we're the same, right? It's kind of an interesting thing to think about. Like we're kind of we're programmed. I don't know if you're following what I'm saying. Like we we only think like, "Oh my god, we only have empathy because we kind of evolved to have empathy because it was good to have empathy. Because if we didn't have empathy, we'd all kill each other and we wouldn't be able to evolve." Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. But we only have empathy because empathy is beneficial to the human race to have empathy. So with a robot, if we programmed the robots to have empathy because we want them to have empathy, that way they don't fucking kill us all, then it would be beneficial for them to have empathy. Therefore, would it be any less? Would it be any less? Would it be any less real than our empathy? Would it? Would it technically? If we programmed a robot to know what's right and wrong, and to essentially like have feelings, would it be any less than us? Someone said technically, I feel yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's like an interesting thought. Like I think that it would be weird. It'd be weird. Like, oh my god, like they only think that because we programmed them and we made them think that. But it's like, no, like we're the same. We're the exact same way. But we're not scientifically programmed. We're learned. It's different. No, we're essentially scientifically programmed. Like we've like programmed ourselves out of selfishness, and they'd be programmed out of like safety and thought. Like I feel like technically it'd be the same. I feel like technically it would be a robot could be just as empathetic as we could be technically. But it hurts my brain to think about because like but they'd only be that way because we made them that way. But it's like, yeah, but then we're only this way because we made ourselves that way. Feelings are chemical reactions. They would just have to learn the technicality of morals. Not the same thing. Humans have humanity. Yeah, but I feel like this is when we kind of get more into this is more of a touchy subject. I think that obviously depending on like your view on the world and your view on life, humanity may or may not be a thing. I'm an agnostic atheist, so I think that God doesn't exist, but I think that there could be a God. I feel like I have enough belief to go, hey, I know what I don't know. Obviously, I think that based on science, the world, we kind of can all agree that that it seems like the universe came from nothing and is constantly expanding. How the fuck did that happen? Could have been a god, could have been anything. And that's my belief. And my belief, obviously, I believe in evolution. I believe that we evolved. Life started from fucking nothing essentially, and evolved slowly and slowly from fucking so small multi-cell organisms to where we are now. And so because of that, I don't believe that humanity is really a thing. Like I don't think we have humanity. I think we have humanity because we evolved to have humanity because that's what was beneficial to us. And that's my belief. I obviously think that there's a lot. I don't think it's illogical at all to believe that that there is a God or that there is something that kind of gave us humanity. Or I also think it's illogical to believe that we do have something special in us that is only capable because of the fact that we, evolved that way. But my personal belief is that we don't really have we have humanity because we evolved to have humanity. And I think that I think that it was an evolutionary benefit to have empathy, to have humanity, to have feelings. It was an evolutionary benefit to love. It was an evolutionary benefit to hate. It was an evolutionary benefit to have these emotions. And I think that that's the only reason we have it. So I don't think that humanity. I don't think that humanity is an irreplaceable, like non-recreatable thing. I think that we can recreate humanity in a robot, because what humanity is what we've evolved to feel. And people say feelings are chemical reactions. Yeah, chemical reactions that we evolved to have. So, and obviously, like, essentially, let's say we have a chemical reaction. Let's say technically it's like, oh, well, we evolved to feel pain, right? Like, oh, you get cut, you feel pain. Oh my God, that cut hurt there. That's pain. I don't like it. Fucking it hurts, right? We can have a robot already pretty much now that does that. We can have a robot that we program. I'm gonna poke you with this stick, and wherever I poked you, it's gonna hurt, and you're not gonna like it. And the robot can go, I got poked with a stick. Ow, ouch, that hurts. That hurt. Whatever, right? And if a robot ever truly does have consciousness, and actually we've programmed it to have pain, it would believe. We would have programmed it to fully believe that it had pain, right? Now, why would we do that? But I'm just saying, if we did, its pain would be no less than ours because it would believe that it's in pain. And it's the same way that right now, again, this is just me. This is me thinking about it, and might disagree, but this is what, like, right now there's been like stories people have told, like, it's like the placebo effect, right? Like, if you truly believe something, people have died of believing that they're dying. You guys have like heard about stuff like that, right? Like, basically panic so much that they end up dying because they think they're dying. They think they're dying so much and they die. Like, essentially, that you have so much, your brain has so much power that you can essentially kill yourself unintentionally by thinking that you're dying, essentially. So my thought with that is that it's the same thing with like robots, right? If we programmed a robot to think that it's feeling pain, it would be feeling, its pain would be just as real as our pain. Does that make any sense? I don't know if you guys agree with me. I don't know if anyone agrees with me, but that's my thought. My thought is that essentially we can program a robot to have humanity, and we can program a robot to have feelings, because our feelings are essentially just X's and O's, zeros and ones, just like a computer, It's just that it's so complex that it'll take us a long time to get there for their emotions to be as complex as ours, and for them to be as complex as us. But I think we can. And I think we will. Eventually. Would AI truly be conscious then when it can evolve by itself? And that's the thing, essentially, is because eventually, once it can evolve itself, then, like, because technically, like, we have limits, like evolutionarily, because like our brain can only be big enough, and only have so much in it, and we can only run fast enough, and we can only jump high enough, and we can only run for so long, and we can only speak so many words and speak so loud, and etc. We have like limits to us. Whereas technically, technology doesn't really have limits, or at least it does, but limits that are unfathomable to us. Like, the limits so much higher than where we are right now that it doesn't even matter. So essentially, once we get like AI and robots to the point where they are as smart as us, they will go through leaps and leaps and leaps better than us because they can, whereas we can't. The smartest human on Earth, can only be so smart and can only have so much information. The person that maintains the most knowledge on Earth can only store so much. Whereas, like, we can't, as of right now, we can't like make our brain bigger. Where you have a robot, guess what? Robot 2.0 the next year that has a bigger brain and is twice as fast and can jump as high and whatever. And then imagine when robots can work on themselves, then all of a sudden they're going to be essentially evolving themselves, just like the iPhone went from the iPhone 1 to the iPhone 10 and evolved. But it evolved with us evolving it. Now imagine when robots become smart enough to work on themselves and to, essentially make themselves better. So, because technically, This might be a hot take. Creativity, like technically, creativity is kind of fake. And everyone thinks that creativity is something that robots will never have and robots can never be creative, etc. But creativity is really just taking what you know and applying it in a way that someone else hasn't, right? Essentially, that's what creativity is in my mind. And I think I'm very creative. So this is kind of a hot take. I think creativity is probably my biggest strength. So it hurts for me to say this, but I think that creativity essentially is just taking the knowledge you have and applying it in a different way than someone else has, essentially. So like, let's say I want to be creative. I come up with a creative video idea, right? I came up with it by taking the knowledge I had and applying it in a way someone else has. Like, let's say Manhunt. Manhunt, obviously everyone knows you can beat Minecraft. Everyone knows you can make videos beating Minecraft. Everyone knows you can have people kill you in Minecraft. Everyone knows you can have people kill you in Minecraft while you're beating the game. But that hadn't been like applied altogether. So have somebody chase you down while you beat the game, and if they kill you, then you die and you lose, and make that a video, right? That is not something that a robot couldn't do. A robot could do that. Creativity equals a remix of your experiences. Essentially, yeah, that's my view. And I think that robots essentially will be able to be creative. And the thing is guess what? They'll be able to be creative a million times faster than us. Like right now, they'll say, oh my God, it's so creative and so smart that like an engineer was able to come up with, how to make a battery smaller. Well, they were only able to do that because they looked at the facts. They didn't find new facts. They took the facts and they applied them in a way to make it better. But guess what? Robots will be able to do that better than us. They'll be able to do that better than us. They'll be able to be more creative than us because they'll be able to they'll have all the information infinitely on their brain because guess what? They'll be able to like collectively access the internet or whatever. And then they'll be able to take that information and instantly apply it. And so they'll be able to go, oh, why, we have these batteries. Why don't we do this? And they just instantly know the answer. They instantly know why don't we do this? This is like something we can do to do it better. And then guess what? They get more information from that. And then like, instead of evolving instead of taking 10 years to get from point A to point B, they'll take 10 seconds. And so our technology, as soon as robots become advanced enough to be smarter than us, which will happen, our technology will advance infinitely faster. But anyway. If they truly achieved consciousness was stopping them from choosing themselves over humans, we would essentially create something that would inevitably destroy us. Yeah. I think most that is kind of the debate is like, what if like intelligence just like fucking kills us? But I think that the difference is that I think it's kind of the same as like we evolved to, have empathy and etc. I think robots kind of be the same. Like, I feel like it won't necessarily be like humans will be a benefit to robots, at least for a long period of time. Now, eventually, maybe we wouldn't be, but eventually at that point, I think we would essentially be robots. Hot take. Here's another hot take. I think this is we're getting like very, very deep, but I think my take on like the whole AI takeover thing is this. I think that, yeah, we would essentially be useless to robots at some point. But by that point, we would be robots because we would have found a way to, upload our consciousness essentially into a robot and become that robot. Essentially, it will happen. Why would it not? We will understand. Sounds ridiculous. We will understand how the brain works. Like, we will understand how the brain works, how it works that way, how the brain stores data, and we will eventually be able to take that data and store it ourselves on essentially a fake brain. That will be the robot brain. That will be better and more storage and et cetera, et cetera. Eventually, it might be hundreds of thousands of years from now, who knows, or thousands of years from now, whatever. But it will happen. It will. So I think that the whole robots will kill us thing will be like, well, we'll become robots. Essentially, yeah, humans might go extinct, but not because we went extinct, because we like evolved into fucking robots. But yeah, there you go. You mentioned reproduction being separate from just us with the sperm and the egg, but at what point does the newborn baby get turned into a robot? How would they grow, learn, and develop, etc.? That's a good point. I haven't thought about that. Uh, I don't know. I feel like, let's say if we're talking about like just a robot body and you just like implant, the brain or whatever. I guess that is a very interesting thought, because like then I guess technically at that point, um, babies, like, if you could just download memories, why would babies need to be like babies essentially? That sounds so dumb, but like it is kind of true. Like if we kind of can collectively share memories, then why would babies need to be babies? Like babies essentially wouldn't exist. There'd be like a new person like invented essentially. But then they just have the memories they need. They know how to walk instantly. They know how to do these things instantly. And there's some like fucking there's some like like a lot of animals are kind of like that, where like as soon as they come out, they already know how to fucking walk, and they already know how to do shit. They don't need to be taught, um it's mostly because like our brain, I'm pretty sure this is what it is. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that like people's brains are so big, like humans' brains are so big that they aren't like fully, they still have a lot of developing to do, like when they come out, instead of like uh otherwise they wouldn't be able to come out because like their brain would be too big essentially. I don't know. But anyway, I feel like we'll eventually, there'll be like there'll be base memories that like we have with everybody. We're like, once we're to that point in thousands of years where like everyone's like essentially a robot, a baby would be born. If at that point babies are even being born. But like let's say they are, but let's say they're not, because maybe they just won't be. But if they are, right now, to be fair, think about this. Technically, the only reason we have babies, not the only reason, but like the only reason we technically need babies is because we're not immortal. Like, right? Like, you have a baby because otherwise just the human race will just die and be gone. Like, you need kids to like, you know, live on. But like let's say that everyone just like lived forever. You wouldn't technically like need babies anymore. The world is too divided for this, I think. Not everyone would want to be robots and the wars would start. That's true, yeah. But then eventually it doesn't matter, because eventually technology would win. Like, even, yeah, I'm sure it will. I'm not saying it'd be a thing that takes so long, and it would take instantly for like it wouldn't be instant, and it would be so unaccepted for a long time. But eventually it would just win, because the better thing will always win. The thing that's better for people in general will always end up eventually winning. People who don't want to would just die. Yeah, exactly. If we become robots, reproducing sexually, become redundant. Also, living forever causes life itself to lose all meaning. So no thanks. I don't agree. I don't agree. I think that life has meaning no matter what. But I think that I just feel like there will. I feel like as long as there's like shit to do, and I feel like there will always be shit to do. I feel like you just can never run out of shit to do because of how infinite the universe is. There will be infinite shit to do. And as long as there's shit to do, you can always do shit. And if you're doing shit, then guess what? You're contributing to the universe as a whole. And if you're contributing to the universe as a whole, even just by whatever, by living, then you know life has a purpose. That is your meaning. I think the world will end before everything you're assuming will happen because of climate change. Um, I talked about this earlier. I don't agree. But I think that there obviously is a chance. There is a chance that it does happen. There is a chance. Scientists say parts of the world will be uninhabitable within 5 years because of climate change and end in 50. It's not a matter of opinion. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I spoke on it earlier, Lily. I don't know if you were in the podcast earlier, but I think that it's one of those things where my view is an interesting one. Again, I think that it's like we're past the point where we can stop climate change, but we can do everything in our power possibly to extend it as much as we possibly can. And I believe, like I was speaking earlier, I believe we'll be able to control the weather. I believe we'll be able to control so much shit with technology. Technology is so advanced that I think that eventually we will be able to essentially reverse um, or find ways to live regardless. Even if shit goes crazy, we'll be able to find temperature regulation shit, or we'll be able to make structures that work. I mean, we shouldn't have to, but I believe that humanity will live and will thrive. You are too optimistic. I don't think so. I think I don't know. I think that people are idiots, but also again, the majority of people want to live. And eventually, evolution and all, the natural selection, all the idiots will, you know, are more likely to die and will continue to die. And then, you know, there will always be idiots because there will always be the top percenters that are not idiots. But there will, those idiots will die, and then so on. But the people who can actually prolong climate change don't care enough, so it'll never happen. Well, it's not a 1 day thing. It's not like literally 1 day. It's gonna be everything. Everyone's gonna be fine, and then the next day everyone's gonna be dead. Like that's. I mean, unless like an asteroid hits something. I'm just saying, because of climate change, that's not gonna be the case. Even if it is, it'll be a very very quick thing. It's not a 1 day thing, and so I think if humanity, humanity has a way, humanity will find a way, and we'll make it. We'll make it happen. There's enough smart people in the world that aren't idiots that you know that do know what's happening, and we'll make it happen. Dream best you're gonna get killed by some hot weather. There's no chance we're gonna advance that far that quick. I think I do think that probably a lot of people will die from hot weather and other dumb mistakes that we'll make over the fucking probably millions of years will continue to exist, billions potentially, trillions maybe. But but I also think that like you're like what you just said is kind of like I mean, again, it's different, but like we have solutions to heat, right? So I don't think that there is a way that everybody will die to heat, right? We already have solutions to heat. So it's just like, yeah, it might take fucking 99.9% of people dying. Well, my belief is just that it will eventually the humanity would live even if it takes fucking mass whatever. I'm not saying that we won't we won't potentially have like a horrible crazy shit. I don't think we will, but I'm saying even if we do, my belief is that even if the 0.1% of the world lives on, there'll be enough fucking geniuses there that have the drive to fix it, that will fix it for their grandkids and etc. What solutions are you talking about? I don't know. I'm just saying solutions in the future. I'm saying like let's say whatever, like right now, whatever the problems actually are, um like the actual problems. Let's say like um no, I don't know how to I mean I feel like it's impossible for me to talk about because it's totally out of my whatever. But I think like let's say like when I was talking about like hurricanes, like let's say hurricanes are a problem that let's say hurricanes tomorrow were a problem that we're gonna end the world. I don't think that we would instantly people be like, oh, hurricanes are gonna end the world. Oh yeah, fuck it. Even if they're like, oh look, here's the facts. Literally, hurricanes are going to end the world. We can literally see this is gonna happen, and people are like, oh yeah, right, and they don't do shit. And then as soon as hurricanes start fucking rampaging the world, there'll be like underground bunkered meetings with people like with the top people that are fucking all together going, all right, we need to fucking fix hurricanes right now. What can we fucking do? And then everybody's underground and whatever. Even if like the whole world essentially fucking dies, these people like underground that are working. Okay, here's exactly how we do it. We do this and this and this. We're able to hurricanes start like this, and we're able to detect them in this way, and then we can stop it before it even gets started and whatever. And then eventually they would stop the hurricanes, right? I think that my belief applies to that with climate change as well, which is also bleak because it could be like, oh, people fucking die, but hey, people also won't. I just fully believe that it would pretty much take, like, almost all of us almost the entire world dying at, like, once to get rid of humanity. Like, it would take an asteroid or it would take like, fucking nuclear fallout or something. Like, other than that, I feel like we just won't humanity is very, you know, like, humanity is just very self-preserving, and humanity even if there's, only thousands of humans alive, like, we also, before all technology, we started with fucking, we started with probably not too many humans on Earth, and we got to where we are now. Um, and now imagine with the technology we have and everything we have. So I think even if something happens that wipes out pretty much everyone, but leaves a couple thousand people, I think that we'd humanity would still live on and prevail. But I think like pretty much once we become like interplanetary or whatever, like once we reach that point, then humanity will be like invincible essentially. Because then even like an asteroid wouldn't take us out, or a nuclear war wouldn't take us out, or whatever. But then eventually there'll be some weapon developed that's like a fucking planet destroyer, like the Death Star or something, and then we won't be until we're like multi-universe or something. I don't know. It'll always be like humanity will always be threatening itself. I think humanity is the only threat to humanity. Um, once we become like, I feel like humanity's. I think even right now, probably humanity is pretty much the only threat to humanity. Because I think you know if we detected an asteroid that's on path to Earth, it would become like literally everyone's like goal to fucking stop it, and we'd come up with something to stop it, nuke it or some shit, or move it out of our orbit somehow. I don't know how, but we do some shit. Anyway, this has been a deep conversation. You believe in all this, but not ghosts? Because I believe in science. How are ghosts science? What part of ghosts at all is science? One little tiny tidbit. There's not remotely any scientific evidence pointing to ghosts in any way. Doesn't mean they necessarily can't exist. It just believes that in my worldview, they don't. Queen Kiki, there's clear evidence of things that science doesn't currently explain. Therefore, there is stuff science doesn't cover. Therefore, ghosts could be one of those things. Yeah, totally. I just don't think ghosts exist. They could. I don't think that there's a god, but there could be. I don't think that there's I don't know. I believe in evolution, but who fucking knows? What if it's just a coincidence somehow and there's some other shit that explains it? I don't know. I think that anything's technically possible, and I'm fair to admit that. I don't think that my view is the only view and the right view. I just think I just based on my worldview, I don't believe in ghosts because I believe with what I my view on science that there's no evidence pointing to it whatsoever. And so I don't have any reason to believe in it. um. So what's up? I don't know. What's up? Mm-mm-mm. All right, time to play word hunt. What is happening? I'm playing word hunt. uh, word hunt is fun. Sorry, I will be back in a second. Just a little word hunt break. I'm just too good. I am just too good. I just never lose. I never lose. Oops. It doesn't matter what your score is, because like each board can be, there can be like it can be a good board or it can be a bad board, and I feel like every board is so different that it doesn't matter. Me saying what my score was would be useless, unless it was actually like ridiculous. Okay. Anyway, um, hello, I'm back. Did I win? Yes, obviously. I don't lose. Okay, I mean, I do lose sometimes, but not that often. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Um, uh, uh, uh. What did you say in your other sleep recordings? Nothing. I don't know. I said stuff. I have no idea what I said. I listened to shit and I couldn't understand anything that I said. I do talk in my sleep a lot. So I've been told, and I downloaded an app like the other day to listen. And the first one I listened to, I said, all right, like in my sleep, and I was laughing. That's so dumb. I've never sleptwalked for, as far as I know, but I do sleep talk. Who told you that? The many of people in my bed. Go. That was a joke. No, no, it wasn't a joke. It wasn't a joke. I get many of uh, people in my bed. Do you think you move a lot in your sleep? I do move a decent amount. I could hear it. I didn't think I moved a lot in my sleep until I literally listened to the recordings from like last night, and I was like every other recording was just me like moving a lot. I was like, what the fuck? Have you ever heard George sleep talking? Yes. He literally slept talk like an hour before this podcast started, like an hour before the podcast started. He fell asleep and then he was he was having a dream about being on the Discord call, and he said he was like it was like the dumbest, it was like the most ridiculous dream ever. It was so stupid. It was such a dumb dream, but yeah, he was talking in his sleep, and then I was talking back to him. I was like, what the fuck? And then he ended up he woke up, and then he was like, what the fuck was I talking? And then etc. And then he left. Yeah, George talks in his sleep as well. George talks a lot. I talk a lot. Do you have dreams often while you're sleeping? I believe so, yeah. Who talks more in their sleep, you or George? I don't know. Probably a similar amount. Um, do you, George, call until you fall asleep? No. I mean, like we've both fallen asleep on call many times, but I've fallen asleep on call on stream on Twitch, on not on my stream, like on other people's streams. I've fallen asleep on my Twitter space. Um, I don't know. I fall asleep. I don't care. I fall asleep in calls all the time. George does as well. So does Nick. I'm in an ambulance listening to this podcast. The paramedic is listening too. We were vibing. Hopefully, you're okay. Like, yeah, and the fucking dead guy that's here as well is he's not listening, unfortunately, but he was. I'm currently in therapy. Then go to your therapy. What? There's no way you're currently. You're like, yeah, sorry, I'm gonna go on this podcast. You're not in therapy. Like maybe wait, no way. Like you're maybe like in the lobby or something. There's no way. Unless you're saying like, you know, this podcast is therapy, which have you ever cried from joy? Definitely. I feel like I've cried multiple times from joy. Mm-mm-mm. Huh. We ever do a Sims 4 stream? I don't know. Maybe. When are you planning to stream next? I guess Saturday. MCC Saturday, so either Saturday or maybe I'll do a stream before then. I don't know. All right, I'll open it. I'll open it. Fine. Fine. I will plug in my phone because it's low. Um. Hmm. What should you get for breakfast? I don't know. Whatever you want. Mm, mm, mm. Minecraft hosted their Minecraft virtual creator summit yesterday, so I went to that. That was cool. They just basically like talked about like the future of Minecraft and shit and the future of whatever. They showed like I know like the new Minecraft Legends that's coming out. They showed some top secret clips from that we're not allowed to talk about, but well, we're allowed to say that, but we can't say what they were. But it was cool. I think that game seems like it's gonna be fun. I like what they showed. I think it was cool. I like the direction that they're taking it. So I'm excited to see more whenever they come out. They sent me some cool like merchandise, which is cool. I got little frog socks, Minecraft frog socks, and I got a little skeleton mug and a little virtual creator summit hat. It wasn't IRL, it was online. Yeah, they did say we can talk about the Java section, and so I will. Someone said no PvP update though. That is something they said. They didn't say no PvP update. They just said they don't have an exact like plan for it or whatever. And then it's kind of the same for the. I did ask that. I asked about a combat update, and they said that there hasn't been any like new stuff from it from like the snapshots or whatever that Jeb did. Um, but yeah, it was cool. It was pretty cool. There was a lot of people. There was a lot of people. Hmm, hmm, hmm. um, what else there to talk about? My sleep schedule is just a mess. It's just a mess. Mm-mm. All right. See you guys later. Peace. Love ya. See you soon. Bye. See ya. See ya. Bye.